All right. I'll push us over to here. How are we doing? Okay, 403. Need a couple minutes extra next time. All right. We can push live. Let's do this. Start on there. And it's go time, baby. We're in. Welcome back, everybody. DeltaFi Wednesdays with the Hxro Labs panel. I am your host, RT, at Random Task 555, sitting in the lab here with Rob Levy and Gunny. Hxro, president and founders and CEO, the squad. How are you guys doing? Welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
Feeling good. Feeling good. Summertime. Great weather. Market is being the market. Everything's great.
Yeah, it's good vibes right now. I think the couple $1,000 move up off 30K definitely helped a little, although I'm doubting you sweated much of that downside. What do you think of this JP stuff? You get fired up by the J Powell announcement today? It seemed like kind of a nothing burger to me, but I'm not an FA guy.
I don't know. When you start having to analyze like the actual words that they choose to say and the fact that the Fed has to like really care about every little word because of how it could be interpreted, and all the algos are trying to search and scrape for what word's going to be said. I mean, we know what's going on, right? Like there's inflation. The thing that we still don't know is just how everything's going to play out, how we're going to get out of this. And like, I'm still of the mind that like owning Bitcoin and Ethereum and these assets are the place to be. And that even if they have to taper and do all that, in the end, the fundamentals behind Bitcoin and ETH are strong to quite strong. So
you just got me thinking, and then I want to let Dan speak because, man, I missed you. You've been away 2 weeks.
Oh man, I missed you too.
I gotta ask you this question, Rob. What would it take to change your mind on Bitcoin? You know, so many things developing over the last few months. On this show we talk about it, and you're just like, well, this is all just kind of part of the thesis we have. It's bullish. What would it like? Do you have a scenario where you're like the next 10 years isn't bullish on crypto?
I don't think so, because of the true like fundamental change that's taking place with public blockchain, decentralization, and the need for a non-central bank driven, non-sovereign currency choice for billions of people on Earth. So like, I don't think that fundamental thing is changing about Bitcoin. Like the fact that monetary policy might not be as accommodative, like, is that in the end going to change whether Bitcoin goes up against the dollar and other fiat currencies? I don't think so, right? Even if rates start crawling up, I don't think that's really gonna affect Bitcoin and the trajectory here. That's me personally. I just think that there is a need for this, decentralized currency, and the things that decentralized finance are doing. It is the future in some form or another. Like, might there be better and bigger? And it reminds me of like the internet, when Uber, to me, that wasn't even, that came how many years after the internet kind of made other things possible. So yeah, this thing's, I'm not leaving.
Well, and the reason I ask is because these events come and they go. And I think a lot of people, especially newer to the space, perhaps there's FOMC coming tomorrow, and there's just this sense of dread sometimes where it's like, what could change? Is this going to ruin the party? Is this going to and I guess my point was, and I kind of knew your answer is like, well, a little Fed rate change here and there, a little policy shift. It doesn't really stop the freight train, at least in my eyes. The thesis is the thesis, and it's kind of inevitable that we'll see, the inflation, all this stuff, and all those needs you talked about. So anyways, I just wanted to bring that up. You got me thinking as you opened up. Dan, want to hear from you. What have you been up to? Things are flying right now at Hxro. Do you want to shed a little light on sort of
I mean, first of all, we joined the super spreader in Miami and got to work down there. A lot of meetings on what's happening at Hxro Network, and the last couple weeks, the last 3 months has just been a lot of building, a lot of hiring, and just a lot of things going on, both around Hxro Network, and the protocols that we're building there, and then a lot of in the next 3 months or so, you're going to start seeing a lot of evolution of Hxro platform and Hxro Labs towards some things that ultimately there is, like, traditional finance is coming to our world, to DeFi and to crypto in general. And the way that we're evolving and some of the kind of our views of the world over the next call it 10 plus years, we're really setting the foundation for it and setting up both in the front end with the platform, and then what we're doing in terms of decentralizing Hxro infrastructure, setting up to cast a very wide net and to really create a ecosystem that welcomes these traditional finance players into it, but also creates very deep, liquid, robust, fair markets for everybody to engage with, most specifically in standardized options, and then into exotics and some of the things that we've done historically as well. So super exciting time, and just have really been spending a lot of time working on that. In terms of the Fed, it's funny, Rob talked about like the dissection of like every little word that gets said by scrapers and by algos. It's funny. I remember trading on Fed days, and there used to be this thing about when Alan Greenspan was chairman of, they would actually monitor when he went to lunch to see if he ordered soup or not. And this was Greenspan was very, he used rates to kind of control the market, just similar to how things work now. And he'd always expect, like if we were in a cut cycle or a hike cycle, whatever it was, that if he was having soup, he was not in a rush to get to his to get to the meeting. So it was likely that something wasn't going to happen. But I think what's important for traders who aren't in the game of like trying to read the tea leaves and then speculate like in that instant, and you kind of saw it with the market. Like the market went up, it went down, it went up, it went down, and you sat there 3 minutes later and you're like, wait, we didn't fucking go anywhere just now, right? So that's just algo. That's market makers backing off, volatility. You get this kind of like short stint of excessive volatility. It's really ultimately noise, and not really the way that things that you want to be trading on. You got to remember that as this market matures and as things like the Fed become more important, and obviously with the inflation narrative and Bitcoin and whatnot as a store of value, like this interest rates, which affect the dollar, which affect the price of Bitcoin, which affect inflation, all these things kind of working together. The market's job is to actually like almost predict what's going to happen. So the speculators, the big speculators, and especially as this market continues to mature, you're going to see more and more of this. They're either going to like just not have a position, or the big ones are really just like taking a position on where they think this is going to go, and they're taking that position like weeks ahead of time. And so, and like into the meeting, right? And into like, you actually want to have, you want to have an understanding of like where the market thinks things are going to go versus what actually happens. It's almost like a buy the rumor, sell the news type of thing. And the opportunities for trading really exist when the market expects one thing and then you get a surprise the other way. And then you got to make the determination of like, is that surprise enough to like kind of turn things on its head? But at least you know in that short run as a trading opportunity that if the market is expecting X, but Y happens, like there's a fucking layup trade right there, right? Go. The market needs to reset.
Yeah,
basically,
all those people who took the positions ahead of time are now wrong, and they need to.
They're going to cover,
shift,
at least in the short run. There's great trading opportunity there, right? It's
tomato bisque. We got tomato bisque, guys. Long it.
Right. Exactly.
I can't believe that. That's actually, send the intern over. What's Greenspan having for lunch today? We're going to put some size on the trade.
He ordered the matzo ball soup.
They'd watch him walk.
Totally.
Like,
they'd look at his briefcase and like how thick it was. And, like,
it goes to show how saturated the legacy market is with competitiveness. The things you're doing to scrape out an edge, anything goes. And that's part of what I love about crypto and what risk, Dan and Rob has really talked a lot about here, the risk-free rate. There's just this opportunity still in this market that hasn't been scraped. We're not quite checking on, what is his name? Vitalik Buterin's lunch diet. You know what I mean? Like, we're not there yet. There may be a day where those kinds of things become the last bit of alpha you can scrape. Someone will do it, but.
By the way, this market, crypto more than anything, it is like molasses in terms of the speed at which news or rumors move through it. Like, you could back a truck up into something that was asymmetric. Like, you almost can't believe it. It's like some news starts hitting the wire and then it's like it almost has to hit like 4chan before anything happens. Like and as the market matures, it's gonna get more and more efficient. And you'll see that because like volatility will start coming in. Like, you won't, in a few years from now, like it's going to be rare that you're going to have, Bitcoin trading a 140 vol. Like,
well,
Bitcoin will trade when it gets busy, it'll trade an 80-90 vol, and it'll kind of like base out maybe around like 40. And like that's just going to be the market getting deeper, getting thicker, bigger players coming in, and like it'll be a sign of maturity, and which will be very positive. And I'm, just kind of to the last point that you guys were talking about, like Bitcoin's fucking programmed to go up. Let's just face it. Right? Like,
it is math, and
it's just math,
favorable math. Yeah.
And like, it doesn't mean that in the process that it can't go down 60% peak to valley on its way up, but like it's going higher. I don't care what anybody says, whether you like it or not. And so I think the longer the time frame you have in terms of your holding, like the in terms of how long you're looking to hold it and what kind of opportunities you're looking for, like the safer bet it becomes.
Yeah, the easier bet is always with the longest tail. In this case, I can't agree more with you. I think we get strung up on low time volatility. I one of my buddies I trade with all the time, he's always on the 5 minute, and he'll be like, "Oh, it's dumping," and I just look at my chart. It's the 1 hour, it's the 4 hour, it hasn't moved, and it gets better and better the more you zoom out. I mean, the impact of even one new person joining crypto and just buying, say, one Bitcoin, whoever they are, maybe they got a medium-sized investment account. They say, I'm going to invest in Bitcoin. That's one. I mean, that's happening all over the world a little bit more each day. We put it in the newsletter this week. Now we've got hedge funds in an survey they did with Financial Magazine saying that by 2026, they want to have 7% allocation to cryptocurrency. Yeah. Where the hell did 7 come from, right? A couple years ago, it was rat poison, don't touch it. Then it was 1% to Bitcoin can reduce volatility in your portfolio. And then it's Paul Tudor Jones on Monday saying 5% Bitcoin. And now these hedge funds guys saying 7 by 2026.
I mean, is there any real data? Like, are they doing some type of like Markowitz level no free lunch analysis of like 5%'s the magic number based on the Sharpe ratio of Bitcoin, like, or is it 5% was like the PR agent telling the macro, big macro guy, like, just say 5%, like it's enough that like it's not going to hurt you if it goes to zero because we still don't trust it, or like or if it goes up, you still got exposure. Like nobody is like, except for Saylor at this point, like is like balls deep trying to put their whole net worth behind it, like at least from like the big macro guys. Like it seems like that kind of like sub 10% number is and a lot of it I think is deriving from also like personal holdings, and it's like not always turning over into like the main fund that made them, that they're managing $40 billion with. Like it's a guy who has been a big macro hedge fund manager that maybe has $3 billion under, like of his own money, and is taking a portion of that and putting SPVs together in funds. And like what I'm most excited to see out of all this is, and all Solana biases aside, because I definitely have one, but the appetite for things other than Bitcoin and Ethereum. And that to me is like the most exciting aspect of like, okay, like this is how we're really gonna like cross over, and like things that are seeing value, that like you're seeing the value of Solana, you're seeing the value of the big projects in Solana, like blue chips are getting established, like you're seeing the same thing in Ethereum, like the power of DeFi summer and Ethereum and like the lending markets, just that's been the biggest game changer of the last fuck Bitcoin, man. Like that's been that, and like what's happened with the NFT space, like the combination of that is like, that's how you're going to get real adoption. And then everything else is like, I don't even think holds a candle to the level of like how much that helped this market, become household.
It's true, because I feel like that's got like the real use case on these networks has just exploded. I mean, back in 17 and 18, no one was doing anything with any tokens. They were just trading them. And now like
masternodes, bro.
I know, right?
Up 7% a year, down 90%
exactly.
in a year.
I know.
Shit.
But still, like, people are using stuff now. There are things to do. There are things to use. There is so much more activity, so much more value being transferred and just interacting that it's night and day. And yeah, a lot of that is happening on, networks that aren't Bitcoin. I don't like the, when the Sailors and the Maxis, they try to say there is only one network, only one. It's so narrow-minded to me and just so blatantly wrong that it's hard to take it seriously. I get it.
I agree.
I get how in love they are with Bitcoin for what it is, but to be of the mind that you're totally dismissing Ethereum, you're totally dismissing every other layer one, every other, like, that is just, I think it's ignorant, like, flat out. But
it's weirdly short-sighted.
There's something blocking.
Completely.
Yeah, there's something that's just not. It's not real. It's not like reality. So I don't know what it is. That's like.
I mean, you need a certain leap of faith, a little bit of imagination to buy the Bitcoin narrative first. We're still early. There's only it's only what, a year or two that big names in the world, perhaps you could call them financial magnates, are talking about it in anything but negative light. So then to make that leap and then to stop short of like even entertaining that something else in the same space could have value is just really weird to me. It's not even like I hate it, I'm emotional about it. It's just like, it's fascinating to me. It's like a weird
it's so easy to me, like especially when you have pullbacks, like which assets are being productive or have like the specter of being productive, like which ones provide value accrual, which ones have good teams behind them that are out in the public talking about like what they're doing. Like, this to me is like, there's some really obvious kind of plays in these markets, especially when we're pulling back. And maybe because I have a little bit longer of a time frame of like thinking about the marketplace. Like when I think about Hxro, I'm thinking about, yeah, like sure, like there's some level of beta to the market or not. It's actually, you know, incredibly has acted quite independent, but like we're building Hxro network and evolving the platform side of everything, like things. And like, I'm looking at like, what does the next 7 years look like to me? What does the next 10 years? Like, where does this market go? And like, that's what we're trying to lay, you know, plant seeds for. So like and when you do that, it actually makes the space way more palatable, as opposed to like, and I'm using Hxro as an example, but I this is how I look at the entire market. Like, it just makes it way easier to like get your head around it and kind of like get rid of the noise and focus in on the things that actually matter. And I'm not saying that there's not opportunity in like momentum plays and like fucking some vapor product like a Cardano or something that like
Shiba,
you know, Shiba like just gets momentum because it's memed or because like it got good, you know, virality on TikTok. But like those are trading opportunities, you know, those very opportunistic momentum opportunities. Like, you're not buying those because of like the thing that kind of where I'm always like, Jesus guys, like when are you going to learn? Like, you know, when that thing is down 98%, like the only bet that you're making is like, will the meme pick back up again? Like, will the community like start memeing it back to life? Or like but suddenly you see everybody like going like, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about this coin? And like, as if the founders actually gave a fuck, you know?
Yeah.
And like, there's a handful of projects out there that, when I mean like not many of them, that there is like legitimate building going on. I'm not saying which one of them is going to win, but like, those are the ones you kind of want to, like, you need to have those in your book, and you need to be looking at those. Like, I don't care how old, I don't care if you're 12 or you're 60, like, ask yourself, like, what do you think this world looks like 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And position yourself accordingly. And if you think it's the right team and the right idea, like, get yourself exposure. Like the move of like, you know, Bitcoin dropping 10, 15 grand and like the beta effects that are going to happen from that in the token that you're in, they're not going to matter quite as much. Over time, it's going to go in your favor. So like, that's kind of where my head is about it. So
yeah, I used to trade the Echo rallies a lot more through 2017. I admittedly missed a few good ones this year, Doge obviously, but like, because for that reason, right? Because, you know, I can stand missing it if it goes up without me because it doesn't fit my thesis, but I don't think I could live with myself on a serious loss on a coin where, like you said, you know, the meme wears off and you're just stuck sitting there saying, when meme? Like, and
literally,
Doge
like,
may continue. I've been wrong this far, but I
literally like going to a
know?
casino and like playing like putting 10 grand down into a casino game that you have no idea what the game is.
Yeah, or just trying to bet on random tweets, you know, which one's going to go viral next. It's really hard to pick that off. Obviously,
really
people
hard.
spend a ton of time trying to be the next viral tweeter. And it's, you know, it's not easy.
Right.
Quick shift here. You guys see I pulled something up that just dropped into my DMs. BitClout now being tracked, the price being tracked on Coinbase. Obviously, today the big news is that it went live on blockchain.com's exchange, about $30 million daily volume. I looked it up, so relatively small. Most people, I don't think, even realize they had an exchange, but they do have a wallet, and they have millions of users. I think something like, what is it, 53 million? 83 million? I don't know. They've got a large user base.
Yeah, Coinbase has 55 million users.
No, blockchain.com.
Oh, yeah.
So they must not have 53. They must have something, but it's millions.
It's 30. I think it's a big number. Blockchain. Yeah.
I mean, they've got @blockchain on Twitter. I mean, so anyways, they're on there. I was trading it earlier today. It launched at 150. It's sitting at around presumably 178. Blockchain.com has 70 million users, just confirmed from my little birdie here. So, I mean, it's live. It's trading. So what do you guys think? I know, we're bullish on it. We bought some, full disclosure, we own some. But like, what are you guys' thoughts? We're about 100 days later. So for anyone watching, if you're interested, I am going to put together a video, sort of like what's happened over the last 3 months, a roundup on BitClout. What are your guys' thoughts? I know you guys are in the weeds on this thing a little more on the back end. What's the latest?
Robbie, go for it.
Yeah, I'm bullish. I think the supply of BitClout kind of went from a maximum of kind of between 15 and 19 million to 11 million. So that's a big cut. You can no longer buy coin off the what they would call the atomic swap or their DEX bonding curve. You can't buy it there any longer. Before, when you bought it there, every million coins that were purchased, the price doubled. So you knew that there was at least coin remaining, and so 11 million coins. The model for the token is extremely strong, whether you like what they're doing or not. The bottom line is all these creator coins, and there are non-crypto people in this thing. So non-crypto, normal people, anyone has a creator coin. People are really creating value in their coins, but every creator coin has BitClout kind of staked in it. So you can only buy these creator coins with BitClout. So what it does, it's kind of like DeFi on super steroids, where all this BitClout gets locked in these creator coins. And as the creator coin network grows, which more and more people are onboarding every day, and big people and coins are getting money flow. So the amount of BitClout locked in these coins just, to me, is going to continue to increase. And that is extremely powerful. Like right now, there's over $200 million of Bitcoin that's locked into it's BitClout, but Bitcoin flew into the DEX. But $200 million of BitClout locked in these creator coins. That can grow to $1 billion to $5 billion. We know a lot of these DeFi protocols have billions and billions locked in. Let's say if $1 billion gets locked in, $5 billion, we're talking about a price of the BitClout token being 5x where it is now, and it's not. These numbers are not that crazy, because
crazy is where I start to sound like a moon boy. And I was on a Clubhouse this morning with some of the BitClout community, and I hopped in and chatted with them. First off, I got to give a big shout out. There's so much positivity, much positivity.
Just in general, right? When you go on BitClout, it is like you're like, it's such a breath of fresh air. Totally.
Yeah, it's really nice. There was a guy that was a little shy to talk in Clubhouse, and the guy running it, obviously pretty big name within that community, and he's like, "Get up here, man. We love your voice. You could be heard. What's your story? Tell us." And I was just like, "Whoa," because it's polar opposite, especially with this 50% drawdown we're seeing on Bitcoin right now. There's just a lot of toxicity on Twitter. So, and I had admittedly kind of ignored BitClout over the last month, just kind of okay, let's see how it goes. We'll wait for the exchange listing. I'm not on there as much. I'm going to get back on more now because I was just a breath of fresh air. But getting back to that today, I was like, holy shit, I just feel good. I'm hanging out with a bunch of good people. Interestingly, most of them not crypto people. And that's what you're saying, Rob. And some of the guys who are crypto people on there, or who just are into it, some of them still not. And they're running these clubhouses every morning, every day of the week for 2 hours, just kind of onboarding people, talking to them about it. Not necessarily shilling them on it, just saying hey, stay safe. Here's how it works. Click your diamonds. You can tip people.
Dude, think about it on a relative basis. We are in the crypto world, we're in such a closed loop, a closed bubble. And you got to remember, the people that are really hitting BitClout hard, and this is what we've always wanted. And most of the people that want to see mass adoption, this is what it looks like. There are you're talking about Instagram influencers, and I've been talking to a pretty well-known celebrity, who has an active fan base of 11 million people.
More than all of crypto Twitter combined.
By probably a factor of 3. it's insane that like these are positive people. These aren't motherfuckers. Like these are real successful people that are looking at this and like getting it. I want to I want to challenge people who are like, this is a fucking scam. I don't understand. Like what I wanted to say on Twitter so bad, and like I didn't and couldn't, was like, are you really like, what do you like? What had happened to you? Like, what's happening inside of you that is making you say this is like your first move is this is a scam? It's like you've been torched and rugged that many times. Yeah, it doesn't like so.
There was a lot of
this becomes a scam.
Yeah, there was a lot of like do-gooder police, I think, on Twitter that genuinely just were like, hey, you know, there's a few red flags here. Can I get my money out? Is it active? You know, where was the launch?
But what after like the first week of it being out, like we're only 3 months in. It's only 3 months in, and like look at how far it's come. Look what's getting built on top of it now. Like there's
100 projects being built on it right now.
It's insane. Like, and I don't mean like random. Like there's a lot of like anons doing it, but like there are legitimate teams and companies that are getting behind this thing, and like it's a really interesting experiment. And like you can't fight the fact that like decentralized social networks are a thing, and like you can even go back to some more hardcore of like looking like Mastodon or Neuroma or Pleroma and like things like that. Like these are huge communities that rally around these things, and then you take that and put it in the context of you know what BitClout has to offer, and then put celebrities on it that actually like can do something in terms of like bringing massive amounts of people to it.
Yeah,
it's got game, man.
I'm needless to say, you know, I'm a bullish on it. I'm here for the ride. I think, you know, there's a fine line between providing people with like a cautious take, which is where some of that started, and then it just turned into like an outright witch hunt, and then it just kind of died. You know, it went away, and there was this kind of cringe when certain people would be like, hey, I'm going to join BitClout. They're tweeting it out. There was this passive cringe, but they're really quiet today. And, you know, it's tradable. I did sell some because I wanted to sort of be the proof of concept that, yes, this just became cash. You know, I moved it over to my Hxro savings account. That's cash in the bank. So
Elon Musk excuse.
We're there.
I wanted to prove liquidity. Liquidity test.
De-risk the old position, but I instantly, like, I knew when I sold it out the gates, I was just like, look, I'm going to take a little bit off here. I think maybe like 8% of my stack. And I was just watching. I was like, this was not going to age well. And, you know, but it was more of a proof of concept thing. The withdrawal worked. It is now cash. And it reminded me a lot of 2017 with Bitcoin. And this is kind of what came up this morning. And for those of you watching who are like, I don't care about BitClout, that's fair. We're not going to spend the whole show on it. We're going to have a segment, as we are. We are going to get to the charts in a little bit. I've got some juice here I want to share with Ethereum, Bitcoin, dominance. However, going back to this quick chat we had this morning, in 2017, a lot of the naysayers in my life were just like, yeah, but this Bitcoin thing, like, can you even get it out? Can you even turn it into cash? Like, can you take your money out? And it was hard. I mean, I was like, yeah, of course you can. And then I kind of went and I was like, oh shit. And I was using Quadriga CX at the time, which is that Canadian exchange, which, you know, famously disappeared with $400 million. Thankfully I got out before that. But, you know, these guys, did
the guy fake his own death or something?
Well, allegedly. He hasn't been found yet, but he you know, went to India, which is one of the easier countries I've heard to disappear in. And he, you know, had a death certificate and he died. So, Gerald Cotton, $400 million. However, point is, at that time, it wasn't easy to get your money out. You know, they would send, I don't know, it was a wire or some kind of transfer. It took 3 months for them to send it to me. I was sweating. They would send you cash in an envelope up to $5,000. If you asked for it, they'd literally mail you an envelope just with like a wad of cash. Like, so point being, I don't think, you know, can you get your money out right away? Like you said, in the first couple months, is a valid knock. It's be cautious. You know, if you want to wait for that, you know, wait for it. You're gonna pay a premium though, because every time that uncertainty is dismissed or, you know, no longer a thing, like it's priced in. And
that's the trade-off. The risk versus reward. That's it.
Yeah. Yep. So if you want to be the pioneer on something like this, and you want to get that bottom dollar price, you want to be the guy who bought Bitcoin at $1. It was not easy to buy Bitcoin at $1. I wasn't there, but I can imagine when it went to 12 and then back to 2, I probably thought it was a scam and I sold it. There was no one talking, right? So you got to take your risks along the way. We all have our threshold. I'm fired up about this, if nothing else, because it doesn't require approval from crypto Twitter. It doesn't require approval from anyone.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's massive influencers coming in and they're loving it. They're like, oh, every time I tweet, somebody clicks these diamonds and I just get like 5 cents from everyone who clicks. I mean, imagine your likes on Twitter paid you. Would that be better? Imagine there's no like censorship anyways, I'm fired up about it.
It's great to see these. It's something that the rest of the world can easily get their head around, like the rest of the social media world. And a lot of these like lifestyle influencers and like they're working hard at it, and it's really cool to see. And like some of these celebrities starting to get on, and like it's really exciting to see.
The bottom line is that BitClout's not just about this Twitter clone. I mean, that's
right.
like the kind of first proof of concept, just because it's known and it's common. But that's like, I think the Twitter things is kind of a throwaway for BitClout. Actually, there's going to be way bigger and better stuff that comes out of this. Like the bottom line is it's the foundation of the value, transferring value, that the chain itself, the creator coins, what you can do with them. And I think this one application is, kind of just, to me, going to be a throwaway. It might be part of something bigger, but I think we're going to see a lot of other applications on here besides just like, a Twitter feed style application.
Totally.
Yeah, they've got the infrastructure within that blockchain to facilitate a whole lot of stuff. And right now there's 100 or so projects being built on it, and you can check that out at bithunt.com. I'll be featuring a few of them in the video next week.
So Flick is you're showing Flick right there. That's Nigel. Oh my God, what's his last name? I forgot. This is the guy that founded FanDuel.
Oh, dope. The co-founder. Yeah, I heard that this morning. Weirdly. Which I love FanDuel. I use that a lot, actually. I used to do a lot of hockey daily fantasy. Nigel Eckles. Okay. Some fairly, we've got club rooms. So there's a race to get in here. It's, it's like the whole thing you hear all the time, right? Fast, cheap transactions. But now you've got this deflation bomb. So never be more than 10.8 million coins. And that's locked. And so anything you want to do within here, if you have to interact with BitClout, it is becoming a scarce asset. It's kind of been similar to Bitcoin, and obviously you don't go too far and piss a lot of people off. But like this thing has, if you can get that decentralization, if you can get enough nodes running, if you can solve that sort of, they've just open sourced, so that's going to be a thing. If you can solve for that, this has all the markers of a store of value as well with those fast transfers. That's all I'm going to say, I think, on this. I don't want to go too hard on BitClout, but you're going to keep hearing about it, I think.
Absolutely.
Over the next little while. It's going to have its day in the sun. I think it's day, it's in the sun now, but 100 things being built, like it doesn't die until it's had its chance. And I don't even think it's within a year of that, 2 years. So for the naysayers out there, I'm just going to say good luck. There's a lot of opportunity out there in the world, and this is maybe not for you. That's okay.
I was actually excited when I first started buying it to kind of see the hate that was out there, which told me like just from the what I knew about it and like how asymmetric the information in the market was, which is where the best fucking opportunities exist. So. Well,
that's exactly it.
That's when you started hitting the gas pedal, right?
Yeah, well, I did, man. I put a good chunk of my portfolio in because every knock on it that I was seeing was something that I kind of knew just wasn't going to be the thing. It's like, oh, it's an outright scam. Nope. Oh, it's never going to be listed on an exchange. Nope. Like it just, none of them made sense. So I think the way you put it, asymmetric information, beautifully put.
And those are the opportunities. It just goes back to what I was saying earlier about the Fed. Like, everybody's looking one way. When everyone's looking hard one way, that is the time when you're paid to flip. You're paid to keep going the other way.
Yeah.
Especially if provided that the information is valid.
Yeah, and you're always taking a risk, but that's why we sweat, baby. That's where you get the dopamine from.
That's the
right?
kick.
So this thing's been off the books for me for a while. It's back on the books now. It's an exciting time. CoinGecko CMC listings today. We're just going to keep an eye on it. Obviously, now that it's a little more accessible, I think, personally, I did feel a sense of like, I'd rather talk about this more once it's on an exchange, once it's a little more out there. I think I had said my piece with our video back in March, and it was like, okay, let's let this one sit for a bit and develop. And we're ready to do a little more coverage on it now because they are building the plumbing for a creator economy, and I have no doubt that it's gonna catch flight here in the next little bit.
Coinbase Ventures, A16Z, Social Capital,
Sequoia, Huobi, all
Arrington,
like some big macro hedge fund names, like all big participants in this, holders in it.
Yeah, and
just so our small group here knows, like, and I can tell you in God's honest truth that a lot of these people, while some of them were buying early, a lot of them were buying at prices pretty close to where we're at now.
Yeah, the OTC market, I can share a little insight on, was sitting at 105 for a while, and I sold some there simply because I wanted to buy more ID, full disclosure. And I was like, okay, like, where am I going to get my capital? Okay, whatever. It was a 2x from where I bought it, so I sell it. And guess who I was selling it to was the guy from fucking Amber Group, $1 billion under management, shakes my hand. I'm like, I just sold to Smart Money, and I am on the wrong side of this trade. And that is the last time I'm selling OTC. And of course, now it's like 70% up from here, so that's fine. I knew I was on the wrong side of that one.
You should have called Nick before you did that.
I did it through Nick.
Nick.
The guy at Amber Group, and I think he's here in the audience with us. So shout out to him. He's had it pinned on his Twitter. So,
is ID up 70% too in that time frame?
No, it's down. It was a bad trade. Leave me alone.
I
think ID is an asymmetric bet here as well, but it's going to take a little more time apparently to play out. But you know what? It's like the classic thing, especially on the trade floor, Rob, you would know this. You got to know who the other guy on the other side of the trade is. Why is he buying? What does he know? And this was the first time I felt that. Most markets, you're sitting there, you're looking at the books, you're like, I don't know who the fuck's buying it. Who cares? I'm just dumping my Bitcoin, whatever. But like, I sold this, and the guy's like, yeah, pleasure doing business. I was like, fuck.
The thing about the trading pit, if you're making that reference, that Rob will definitely, I'm probably taking the words out of his mouth, is that you actually could look the guy in the eye, and you could see the sweat beating off his face, like when you're like, oh my God, this guy needs to buy. Like, he needs to buy. Like, my hands are going down.
This is this guy has 5,000 behind this. Don't you fucking dare be on
you want to talk about dopamine? Those brokers would get, you thought they blasted like a fucking kilo of coke. Like, they'd get all jacked up and like ready to fight. Like they were like going into a gladiator ring when they had a lot to fill. So
it was a different game. You couldn't, like, now you don't know who you're transacting with on the screens. Like, no clue. I mean, it's kind of the same way that poker is. I'm not a poker player, but, I'm sure you guys are. Like, sitting across from somebody and watching them for hours, like, you learn about how they play, but without any info, and you're just watching people execute on a screen, it's just different. It's different feel.
I mean, you can kind of, like, I wonder, people in the in the audience here, or Colin, like, you can kind of feel it on the screen. Like, when you sit in front of the screens long enough, you kind of can feel like the urgency of buyers and sellers when things are really moving. You know what I mean? Or when nothing's going on, which is most of the time. But
sometimes the best situations, though, when you can really push, when you know a broker, like when you're watching and he's got 5,000, 10,000 to go. There's trade, like, you kind of have a feeling of what that's going to do to the market, and what, like, you're either getting out of the fucking way or you're finding units somewhere.
What was the Sam tweet? The famous Sam tweet when he was like something about like buying somebody's whole stack, or like,
he said, "Yeah, I'll buy as much as you want under $3.
Under $3,
fuck off."
That was such a fucking G move. I love that.
Yeah. No, that was brilliant, and it was exactly that. Like, who's this guy who's sitting there arguing with
With Sam.
the Sam and the backer of this, like Captain Value himself, who's going to understand how this is about to move, and he's like betting against him, and he's like, "Sure, man, I'll take all you want right here off your hands," and the guy ghosted. Probably.
That guy, like, let's get back to the theme of what I keep going back to, like information asymmetries, right? Like, you need to be able to read that, and like that's a signal. That should have been a signal to everybody in the market, like. Just that alone, and Sam knows that, like just doing that alone, like should instigate enough people to like, I'm going to buy the fucking shit out of this thing because this guy's really willing to get long it for size.
Yeah. And that was actually just after the big supply dump, supply inflation, whatever you want to call it, 5x, the circulating supply, which I feel the need to capture a moment. For those of you who do not know this, we actually have a Hxro Labs account on TradingView. And on that account, we have an ideas section. Now, one of the things I love about this ideas section, and I don't go in there a lot, I really do try to do it sparingly because I think more trade is not always better trades. I really try to put out the quality there if I have ideas. But there is some, one of the best things here is that you cannot delete anything. So like there's some bad trades on here that just didn't work out. And they're there still. There's no deleting. But this was right around when Sam had that debate. And we put this chart out because, like you guys, obviously more because of you guys, I was super bullish on it. And it had just broken off the bottom with some, and just like boom. So if you guys aren't on our TradingView over in Hxro Labs, you can learn some stuff over there. I'm going to keep putting out as many ideas as I see in the market right now. Not too many because of this. Somebody asked earlier, I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. I don't really put much weight into this. But it is coming up a lot. I got to get back to the chart on the death cross, which, I think I don't trade it. I don't trade moving average, trades. Although if you're like a swing term, long-term, high time frame swing trader, maybe you can make some value out of that. But what do you guys make of this? There's a lot of talk about this death cross, this assumption that if that crosses, that's it. Put a fork in it. We're done. Are you guys watching that? Do you even focus?
What do you mean? What do you mean by done?
Well, that's it, right? I mean, okay, bull market over. And then there's this idea that this year had to be 2017, so it's a year-long, rip-roaring bull market. And then we only have to live inside of these fractals, so then we must have another 2-year, 99% wipeout. I don't prescribe to that. So when people say bull market over, I'm like, okay, shit, quiet summer to start. There was no rule that said this bear market had to last this long, and there's definitely no rule that says the next one does, or when we cool off. So when I say done, I think people are worried that it's just like air out of the market, full retrace, like 12K support down here.
The money that's moving in and out of this market doesn't really give a shit about the death cross. I can tell you that. It's not to say that in the short run, like that wouldn't signal bids backing off, but like I think it's a question of like, where are we at in a cycle of X time frame? And so this just might, we might pull back. You should probably kind of welcome it, like if you have a longer time frame. If you don't, like,
if you want to get rich this month, or you just want to get back to those highs you had, because let's be honest, a lot of people watching, and some of us, sitting right here, myself included, we've experienced drawdowns since the highs. And a lot of people, it's psychological, and this is why you get stuck in down markets, because you just want to get back to that. And then you say, oh, when I get back to that, then I'll smarten up, then I'll take my profit, then I'll be a longer term investor. And, you may not get back there very soon. And in fact, that's usually the way markets work. They'll squeeze you. They'll take you as far away from where you want to be for as long as possible until you break, and then they'll reverse and head well past where you ever were.
Dude, I'll make a confess. Like, when I was trading equities, like during the tech bubble, I went 23 months. I had 5 losing trading days, and that worked because X amount of dollars in a day, like I would ring the cash register. I was going home flat like every single day, and then 9/11 happened. I got torched, and the amount of money that I lost in that 6 days, like, was so big that the amount of money that I was making to get me there originally, I was very capable of still doing that. I just it suddenly, I was like chasing it. I was like, I got to get back to that number. And so you make X amount in a day. It like wasn't enough. You'd go try to push a little harder, and next thing you know, you're down in the day. Like, it never fucking works. You literally have to like sit back and take stock and think about what you have. Sometimes it's good, even if you're in good positions, like just whittle them down, get back to some cash, and like just tomorrow's a new day. Like, the trading's a continuum. This stuff is 24/7, 365. It's going to be here long after you're gone. So like,
yeah, that's probably the best advice I ever got, and I repeat it on here often, that the market's not going anywhere, but your capital sure as hell can, and the participants
absolutely
will. And so the number one name of the game, and we hear this all the time, we don't do it all the time, and I know most people don't because, for whatever reason, either they don't understand the risk, or they ignore the risk, or they're just greed and they want the upside. I'll tell you what I see right now, and I don't look at these moving averages. Ever since I met Rob Levy, I'm kind of like a, what is it, 12 and 23, whatever those EMAs are.
12 and 26.
12 and 26. That's sort of my jam.
Those are magic. Yep.
Yeah, they're pretty solid. Now, this is the chart that I've been looking at. Now, I drew this up on a different monitor, a little bigger, so sorry that some of the text is just gigantic. But, as I see it, we've got this bullish fractal here that was reversing up. Now, I hate to say it, but there's like a bearish one forming today where, basically it's a 3-bar fractal where you have an up candle, then you have sort of a doji up here with a higher midpoint, and then you have a drop that goes below that up candle. That's a reversal signal. This was a reversal signal. We're ranging. But on the broader picture here on the daily, I see bullish market structure. I see highs not being broken. I see a low, higher low, a higher high. That's bullish structure breakout. It's broken these highs. We're retesting. Now, after these break out, I talk about this all the time, that's when it's time to pull out the fibs. That's when I start looking for that higher low. If it's going to be an uptrend, I want in on the higher low. So I'm actually welcoming right now a move into the 36, 37 area. I think there's a few other things down here as well that line up, POC on the VPVR. But ultimately, I think whether we go up or down, we've got to visit the short reload zone. And Dan, you and I have talked about this ad nauseum on the stream around, if there's going to be a reversal in the market, it's usually not just a straight line where it's like, we're a bull, no, we're a bear. Like, I'm glad everyone agrees, right? There's going to be an argument. There's going to be a debate. And that debate typically takes place at these key throwback levels. Mm-hmm. And what I call affectionately the short reload zone, or down here at the reload zone. And we see it all the time. That's your 80%, top to bottom.
Yeah. Yep.
So bull or bear, I can't call bear here. Get up here, lose that battle, fail against the downside of this 20-week moving average, then we can have that conversation. So what's the death cross? I don't know. It's not part of my analysis. And one thing I will say, though, is it is a lagging indicator. So if this cross is bearish, one thing that people are going to really fuck up is on the day that happens, they'll often be like, and they'll sell and rush out, and then there'll be like a 2 to 3 week squeeze up. And during that squeeze up, everyone will be telling them they got faked out, and they'll buy it back, and then it'll dump. So, be careful when you're trying to trade this death cross on the day. It's lagging, and it often gets squeezed for a few weeks. I'll give you the example here. During this bear market, it broke down. During the 2017, right, we broke down, and it was almost like a month and a half, almost, or about a month, that the price just went up. Like, let's see. 40%. So, 50% upside, and it tested the underside of that 50 moving average. So if you really want to trade this, if you really want to say the death cross is the reason I'm going to exit crypto, look for the underside of the 50, I guess would be my idea. But I don't know. The whole thing's a little silly to me. I don't trade the death cross.
I think another good thing you could, just to kind of bring it back to the hero tip a little bit, is like, and something that we're going to start putting out through labs is, watching just the options action as the market matures. Like, we know there was a huge, where were we trading when those 4,000 puts were bought, Rob?
44s and 40. We were way higher, 48, 50.
Like, there was a huge, a big fund that put a huge, just flat out bought lower strike puts, like
as
a lot of them as a hedge that was like, it literally like vaporized all the market makers' gamma, and like it was a big trade relative to the market at that moment, and like but it was such a signal. Like it was an unbelievable trade. Like
for reference. For reference, I look at this and I get it, guys. It doesn't look great, right? It's like a big rolling top. It's a big dump. It's kind of like meandering under these moving averages. Objectively, right there, doesn't look great. Let me rewind to here because this got me. I was stuck smack dab in the middle of disbelief last September, and this has nothing to do with what's about to happen next, but just for reference. This got me, we were coming up into, at the time, what was resistance, rolling top, dumped down, and then just moved sideways for weeks. And I had a hard time trading that. I did not get back long until late. We're below the moving average, like blah, blah, blah. And, let's see. It came up to squeeze, and this is where that debate happened, and the Bulls won. I want to see that debate. I'm going to be sticking around for that. Fundamentally, I think we've talked a little bit today about, what's the scenario in the future 5-10 years that this stuff doesn't just continue to spread and grow. I don't see one. It's really, really hard to imagine. So I'm not in a rush to...
just math.
It's just math. So we'll see. We'll see where this ends up. I don't think it would be weird to have a big old boring ass summer and some more shakedowns. I also don't think it'd be weird to recover this and move sideways a bit and then just take off.
By the way, wouldn't like a boring summer be fucking awesome? Like, wouldn't you guys like?
I want that.
I talk about that like with just like I'm totally boomering myself today. Keep talking about like old markets, but I don't give a shit. So like one of the nice things about the markets, like pre-crypto, is like once you got into like the summer, like it would always went into the doldrums. Like the volumes would just like cut by like 80-90%. And at least like you could take a break, and it was nice
sell in
to
May
like,
and walk away.
Just go reset and think about how fucking hard all of us, like everybody in this community, like whether you're trading or whether you're running a project, like it's all different levels of it, but we all deal with a ton of stress, and like this is a 24/7, 365 game we're in, and like. It's taking a little break is not such a bad thing, and especially like what's better when you go away for a few weeks and you come back and the market hasn't moved and you're like refreshed, and it's really invigorating.
And I guess the key to that is exposure and position sizing, hedging. If you're over your head, if you're up to your eyeballs in whatever debt or leverage or risk, it's really hard to sleep. It's hard to walk away. You can't afford to see if it'll be where you left it 2 weeks later. So one of the things I learned in 2017 was de-risk, pay my debts, take a little off, even if that means selling OTC to the Amber Group guys and getting wrecked 6 months later on your BitClout. Like, put yourself in a position where you don't care where price goes short term, and pick up a golf club, man. I picked up a set of clubs last week. The kind of clubs that, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I'm like, I can't afford. These are tailor-made. It cost me $1 Ethereum, less than $1 Ethereum. And I walked into Golf Town like a boss, and I walked out with a brand new set of everything. How many things did we ape around $1 Ethereum last summer on stupid shitcoins and lose?
By the way, that's the other thing.
Come on.
How many people here like you realize like literally take something off the table and go buy something, and then you'll realize like, wait, this just cost me like this $1,000, this $1,200 thing just cost me like a half of Ethereum. yeah,
and that was a. Like I was sitting there like, okay, Bill's getting a little high there. I'll get a pair of shoes too, but like chill out. And then I got home and I was like, wait, that's like 0.72 Ethereum. Like I've done worse with 0.72 Ethereum in the last year. So spending a little can help if you've got it there.
It actually helps just bring you back to the real world.
Yeah, that actually blew my mind. At the end of 2017, I was freaking out. I had a decent sized account. I'd never had any money in my life, right? I was always in debt, a couple grand in my name. And so when I had, just over 6 figures at the end of 2017, I freaked out. I went to see a money guy. I was like, yeah, I need a money guy. Tell me what to do with my money. And the funny thing he did, the first thing he did was tell me to spend.
Random test.
Yeah, no, the very first thing he did was tell me to spend some. He's just like, do you spend any? Like, you want a car? You go buy a car. I was like, really? That's your investment advice? And he said, he's like, markets are hot. You don't know where it's going to go. take a little off, buy something you've always wanted, treat yourself, and then, protect the rest. And that was interesting to me. I'm actually going golfing with the guy next week, weirdly, through a friend. But yeah, this strange advice, but I'm hearing it from you now as well. So
it works. It's magical. Ringing the cash register a little bit is magical, and it doesn't mean like punt the things that that you have true belief in, but shaving a little and just seeing what it can offer you in the real world, not such a bad idea, especially when the market's kind of like in an indecision or is, not quite sure, which kind of, for the most part, I would still put it at looks a little bearish, but, still pretty much a coin flip at this point.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at. I'm bullish from these levels. Like I've got here on my chart. If I had to give the TLDR on my take on this, and it is just one guy's take, but if we're going down further, I really, really feel strongly that we've got to visit up here first and have that debate there. And if we're going higher, then we've got to go up there too. So I am long and strong from this low 30s, mid 30s range. Not like levered up or anything crazy, but I'm spot long. And mostly, I think the last thing that I want to say, if we had to end right now, was that Bitcoin dominance is looking really bullish. And that is good news, I think, on the whole, because that is the signal that we could be heading into a new liquidity cycle, right? When you get that Bitcoin rallies, then ETH rallies, then the blue chips rally, then the shitcoins rally. We just had that. Bitcoin ran to 65K, then Ethereum ran to 4,200, and then some blue chips ran, Aave 600, whatever it was, and then friggin' Dogecoin went to like $1 million. Like, we've had a liquidity cycle, and if this is the reset, it starts with Bitcoin, and so I am 100% in Bitcoin in my trade account. I still have some altcoins. I've got some ID, but like for my Binance account, FTX, it's all Bitcoin and some.
That's
USD.
what I'm saying, man. It's like that. It's okay. Like it's this market should breathe. It's allowed to. Like it's supposed to. It's healthier than you chasing highs and feeling like you're fucking FOMOing. Like it's just it's okay. Like it's gonna be here, and it's gonna be here in 20 years from now. And it's gonna be here in 50 years from now, and 100 years from now, after we're all fucking dead. So like it's okay. It's
just pat me on the head and tell me it's gonna be okay, Dan.
I'm here to give hugs today, bro.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what I want to tell people too, man. Like 3 to 5 years, zoom out. I'm not worried. There's certain invalidations here. If we break, I'll change my tune and I'll cut some of that Bitcoin and I'll try to buy it lower. Sure. I'm a trader, but under no circumstances am I worried about where we're going to be in 1, 2, 3, or 4 years. So there's a few tricks we've shared today, guys, that can help sort of ease the uncertainty. Namely, de-risking yourself to a point of comfort, whatever that means. Spending a little if you've made some, cashing it in the bank if you've, got the opportunity, and just do that until you feel like you're on the other side of the trade. Oh fuck, I don't own enough Bitcoin.
Yes.
And then you're like, okay, I've crossed that threshold, and then cross it back just a little bit. And I've done that before too, where I'm like, I'll sell it all, and then I'm like, oh shit, I'm underexposed, and you can just find that equilibrium where you're like, I don't care if it goes to 25 or 50 because I've got that balance.
Yep.
So that's my 2 cents. That's how I'm positioned. We're going to see how it goes over the next few weeks. BitClout builders are coming out in force. BitClout naysayers are shrinking into the hedge. Did you guys have any final thoughts today, Rob? You got a couple minutes here if you wanted to share anything else, what you've been working on or what's on your mind, what have you been trading?
I mean, we're working on powerful AMM for options. That's the focus. AMMs have obviously gotten popular over the last 2 years, but AMMs, automated market makers, have been around in traditional markets for years. I mean, that's what we all ran as market makers in the options pits and off the floor or automated market maker systems. So we're working on that, and we're really excited about what we're building. I think one of the best things about the market pulling back and some of that real like froth and euphoria coming out is it's the best time to build when things are a little quieter, right? And that's what we're doing. So it's great. I'm going back and forth on your idea about being, in terms of exposure and Bitcoin, altcoins. Like I see it with my eyes. I just, part of me just feels like the altcoins, if Bitcoin does turn and we do rally 20% back up to that short reload zone, I feel like we're going to see some rallies from the alts as well. Like, will they keep up? I don't know. My gut tells me they should, or at least some of the better ones will. But
well, that's it. It becomes a coin picker's market at that point, right?
I think we are in one. Yeah.
And versus USD, I agree. I mean, I think if Bitcoin pushes 47, 48, 52, if it gets into those zones, yeah, we're going to see a nice recovery in some USD coins, pairs. But are they going to outpace the Bitcoin pair? And that's sort of my thing now. And I typically don't care too much about that. I was just trading versus USD most of last year. But this thing's clear as day to me. I mean, we had, January to mid-May of just dropping like a stone. I mean, it moved sideways for a little bit and then absolutely fell off a cliff. Everything I know about this market tells me that Bitcoin's coming back with a vengeance. And so I just want to be on the fastest horse. I'll tell you this, what Dan said with the boring summer and it's kind of a relief. I agree. And sometimes I am bored during the day now because I'm just like sitting in my spot Bitcoin. I'm like, I don't have 200 charts to sift through to find the best alt. But I'm just like enjoying that relief for a minute.
Oh, yeah.
But if you are saying, you've got some USD pairs that you're looking at, what's caught your eye these days, Rob? I saw your coin taking off today. Adam moved a little.
Yeah, that's kind of been
not really.
It's been a
Who
dog.
posted that? It must have been a 5-minute chart. Damn it.
It's been a dog. A lot of the alts have been dogs. I think the thing that's probably outperformed still is Solana, and I do think that it's becoming more accessible. It's being listed on Coinbase finally. I'm intimately familiar with what's going on there. Us working there and just today we met with one of the top developers on Solana, Bartosz Lipinski. Great guy, such a great guy, so sharp. But just listening to him and how he works, how they're working over there, and then so knowing that. And then looking at it on a comparative basis with valuation, it just makes all the sense in the world to me. I have problems buying other coins right now, other layer ones, and I have problems buying other stuff knowing that Solana is trading multiples cheaper. In my mind, like
in market cap valuation.
Yeah, that's difficult for me. So I think that's why it's kind of, it's hung in there a little bit better than others on this dump. It's because there's just less fat on the bone. Like the most relatively cheap stuff has less to go down when they start cutting fat and cutting meat. So I don't know. I'm stuck in that mindset with, if there was one alt that I'd want to be long right now, I am leaning that way, but I'm still, I think FTT is just egregiously undervalued still. I could talk for days about that one. It doesn't make that much sense to me, but the one thing about FTT is it really tracks Bitcoin very closely. Like you can watch the flow. I don't know if it's a mechanism because of how it's used as collateral on FTX. I don't know what it is, but it is a Bitcoin tracker. Like if bottom line, on a day Bitcoin's up, FTT is going to be up. That's almost like 100%. But on a day Bitcoin's down, like FTT's down too. It's just moving with Bitcoin. So if you like Bitcoin here and you think Bitcoin dominance, is going to rise again, then, FTT is an alt that I'd want to be in, actually. I think I said that same thing a few months ago. I'm having deja vu. I really do. But, it's odd because I sound like a Sam fanboy, and just like that's the only shit.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, I know that's the only shit that I'll be looking at and buying, but the numbers just make sense to me right now over there. I know that there's a lot of people excited about Polkadot and what's going on there.
Yeah, Kusama parachains are coming up.
Yeah, and it was described to me by a really sharp player that it was like they have the best Rube Goldberg, like jerry-rigged model for the early parachain, that it's like it's kind of just meant to go higher at the beginning there. So but Polkadot's, what is it? Is it still 3x the multiple kind of comparatively to Solana? So I don't know. But I think we're gonna be in a coin pickers market, which, quite frankly, that gets maddening to people when they see coins like pumping 20% in a day and their shitcoin that they're holding is like not doing anything or down 2%. There's not much worse feelings to be having than watching, other coins pump that you may have owned before, or you might own just a little bag, but your big bag is not doing anything. That can get mentally frustrating. I think we're
look at QNT. Somebody in the chat mentioned QNT. They said it's a little too hot right now, but check it out. I mean, this is evidence of coin pickers market, right? Traders got to trade. There's always a bull somewhere. Take your pick of Brian Beamish isms that I'm rhyming off here, but I mean, this is it. And so a more patient trader, perhaps a little more dedicated trader, would sit here and like say, yeah, I'm still hunting setups. Yeah, I'm still doing this. I'm kind of with Dan on this. Like I'm pretty excited about it being summer, about COVID lockdown loosening. And, I'm trying to spend a little more time outside that I might have otherwise just been staring at a chart between actual work that I have to do. And I might miss a few things, but I'll tell you what, I'm not going to see any bags of mine bleed out, 60% versus Bitcoin when Bitcoin runs to whatever it does. That's sort of my main priority right now. And is August going to be a better month? Last July was when things really started to heat up. It was a much different market coming into that month, though. But I think that, look, sell in May and walk away was already a thing, but now we've got COVID loosening up. People have been inside, like there was like the 2-year winter in some ways, right? So I think that sell in May and walk away may be doubly powerful this year.
Also, notice no one's really talking about the EIP 1559 right now, which was, a couple months ago, and everyone was fucking just balls along Ethereum and loving every second of it. Like that was the talk with July. And I don't know. It seems quiet over there.
Let's talk about Ethereum for a quick sec. I don't know. I'm guessing you guys got to go in a sec. We should wrap it up in the next 5 minutes. But, in the newsletter, if you guys haven't checked it out on heroLabs.io, HXRO labs.io, there is a newsletter at the bottom. It's weekly. It's free. I write it, and I share my thoughts on the weekly charts and a few smaller time frame charts. Now, this here is not looking great. Now, there's two ways it can go. It can fib pong and just kind of consolidate here. That's your bull case. And in which case, this is not a great place for me to be selling Ethereum to Bitcoin. Or it breaks below this level, and that's confirmed bearish market structure on the weekly, which with that kind of time frame confirming that kind of structure, almost certainly, and of course there is such thing as fake outs and blah, 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 but it's a high probability trade then that you're going to see weeks, if not months, of consolidation downside. Just retracing. And again, that's versus Bitcoin. Ethereum can be worth $3,000 if Bitcoin runs to 70K, whatever. But that's sort of what I'm watching. And so the key here is waiting for that confirmation, because as of right now, if we zoom in there, we're not there yet. We have to close down below this. Right now, we're actually just in a local reload zone. And you guys know me, I like to play that fib pong. So there's that trade as well. But I do think ETH has cooled off at a weird time versus Bitcoin. But let's be honest, man, it ran so fucking hot for 7 weeks straight. I mean, it can't go straight up. So we'll see.
Yep.
That's my take on ETH. I'm not holding much ETH. I'm holding a little. Small relative bag, but if this reverses, if this takes off, because of how I'm positioned, I actually kind of hope we get down into here, in this 0.05 pump chaser zone, high time frame. We'll find out.
Yeah, it's we're seeing. You can almost feel it. I don't think crypto Twitter is the best thing to be like dialed into 24/7 like I think a lot of us are. Yeah. But it does, you get the vibe when people are on a wave, when a wave is there. I mean, you felt that Ethereum wave, right? Every big fucking account, every billionaire fund man, everybody was talking Ethereum. It was just like, if you weren't in it, you were like just left side of the curve. Like,
yeah, I took profit too early on a size of my bag, I'll be honest. And yeah, I felt I'm not in it. This sucks.
Yeah, but you're not.
It was a good trade, but yeah.
That's not there right now. It's not there in many places right now, to be honest. Like, you're not feeling that. So I think everything tells me we're going to see these little pumps of up 15, 20% a day are going to be the guys loading their big bags, and then you start to hear, you see the wave coming because they start talking their book after they got in. But I don't know.
On the weekly, it actually looks better than Bitcoin. Interestingly, Ethereum USDT looks better than Bitcoin on the weekly. It's sitting above previous support. It's sitting above the weekly 20. Like, it's chilling. So I would not be shocked if we don't get that confirmation on ETH BTC and we just bounce here and squeeze up into this zone first, but we'll see. EIP 1559, ETH 2.0, all this stuff, it could take some time to clean up, but I'm not sold. I'll tell you what though, Dan. Yes. I'm really glad we spotted this breakdown in Oxy and I cut my bag that I bought at those lows. And for anyone watching,
you spotted that, not me.
Yeah, well, we discussed it here, but
yeah, we did.
This thing, like, and this is an example of, why TA works, right? This was a clear as day signal. We have lows. Those are where the support is. Support's gone. Negative price discovery works the same as positive. We've got to find a floor. And so if you're ever staring at a coin like this, you got to take serious reconsideration about what your thesis was if you're trading the chart. And so as somebody who is now not holding this coin and it wants to get a bunch of it, I get to cheer it on, similar to somebody who's got a whole bunch of it watching it in price discovery. So we'll keep an eye on this one. This is another one of those Solana ecosystem coins, 100% value accrual back to token holders.
Good team. Makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm really bullish on Oxy, and I can't tell you how excited I am to see how cheap I can get it.
That's right.
And that's part of the, that's what, like you said, there's always going to be a market. How are you going to play it? The market's going to do whatever the fuck it wants. So what can I do that accrues value in my account during this time? Well, I can cheer this thing on. So
now the big bag holders are taking Oxy.
Yeah. Oxy was a pseudonym for
meeting Oxy.
Yeah, requirement of Oxy. So that's what I got on the charts today, guys. There are going to be an incredible number of opportunities coming out of any kind of downside we may or may not get here. And we'll be here to spot them with you. And if you guys are in the Discord already, you can follow Messi's channel, who couldn't make it today, by the way. We didn't even mention that. Messi couldn't make it today. Doctor's appointment with the fam. Couldn't get out of it. Tried his best. So we'll be back next Wednesday with the full panel. I will be here on Friday solo for Hero Labs Live. We'll dive into some more charts. We'll see where Bitcoin ended up. Did it squeeze higher? Did it dump lower? I don't know.
One thing, RT, just to talk about, because thinking about Oxy, the fact that Oxy chart does look that way, really, and this is one thing I've learned a lot about crypto, this is not the most widely followed and liquid market. And a lot of these tokens of new networks and that you can't take that as the signal that great things aren't happening at Oxy or in the Oxy network. There's a lot of different things going on with the supply and demand and just with market structure and bigger things. But, things could very well be great at Oxy and the future of Oxy may not have changed at all. Like this market is just, it is what it is. It's a low volume trader, that token, and you know, it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. How many times have we seen stuff like that? Charts just look dead on, you know, even middle to high liquidity crypto tokens, and then
that's where the best opportunities exist. Like it looks like blood. It could be unlocks. It could be being used for leverage that's getting rinsed, and the exchange needs to sell it to cover the other side's losses, or the other side's gains. Like it could be one of many things, and when that happens on a good project, like you got to see what's under the hood there, and if they're building things that align with, again, what you think is going to happen in the future, like it's a part of probably the fastest growing ecosystem in crypto, like just like Hxro is. Like it's really, that's where the best opportunities exist. So
yeah,
it's similar. Yeah, I mean, you got to find the value. That's why we do the analysis, right? Because this stuff is not as efficient and in tune as, say, the stock market, where you can say like the stock price is probably pretty close to the fundamental valuation, maybe a little over, maybe a little under, but like everything known is priced in. Oxy is a new coin. I know that the sale that was on FTX was at like pennies. I think it was like 12 cents. I tried to get in. I had like the 5 or 6 lottery tickets to get in. I didn't get one. So there, like you said, there's vesting tokens. They're going to come out. We're in a market state where you just want to grab value where you can because it's going down. And we need to let that play out. And if they can flood as much of that supply in there as they want, I think the key is just, in trading, managing risk and learning how to get ahead of that so you can profit from both sides of the market. So that's a really good point, Robin. And I think the last thing, we can wrap on that thought here is simply that we love crypto because it is so out of touch with its valuations, right? I mean, we love it when it's in a mania and it's just like Cardano's $43 billion market cap. We're like, yeah, send it, whatever. And the downside of that is that sometimes you get this project that might come out, be outstanding, building something incredibly valuable, and it's just in the dumps, and it'll squeeze you out. It'll go way too cheap. So if we're going to head into a way too cheap zone on some of these, it's just about seeing it for what it is, spotting value, fundamentals, blah, 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 and loading up in the reload zone. Man.
Amen.
Yeah, we're coming in. So for those of you who stuck around the entire show, I really appreciate you guys. If you showed up midway, that's cool too. Hit us with a like and a sub if you haven't already. We got a BitClout 100 days later update video coming out next week, as well as Here Labs Live on Friday. And you can follow all of us on Twitter. Check us out in the descriptions. Have a wonderful day, guys. And whatever you do between now and next time, always play from a position of strength. Take care.